Chasing Dragons. Thoughts of a Young Artist. Written by Keelan Morrissey and narrated by Keelan Morrissey. I dedicate this book to life. I'm grateful to exist in this beautiful world, live during this incredible time, and know such wonderful people. Somewhere else. Perhaps it truly does lead somewhere else. The climbing of mountains and chasing of dragons. Maybe we really will arrive somewhere. Island Memories. Hundreds of acres of woods, winding roads, sunlight breathing through tall grass, the squeak of a swing in the wind, a lush canopy of summer leaves, welcoming waters, a distant home. Lost in you. Darling, how I love when the sun shines on your caramel eyes, when they become as golden and sweet as pools of honey, when the sun casts a vibrance on your hair and streaks of brownish blonde flow elegantly through your waves and curls, when the sun causes your skin to sparkle like stars, when an involuntary smile befalls my face, for yours is so contagious, and you are so courageous. The strength of a lion and the heart of 10. 2 hands to hold, 2 shoulders to lean on, 2 feet to walk through this life alongside, 2 eyes to get lost in. Lost. Darling, how I love getting lost in you. On the road. 3 hours on a road beneath gray skies. My first great adventure alone. An open stretch of charcoal streets, moving along in my vessel, approaching a destination once bustling, soon to be calm and quiet. An unfamiliar taste on my tongue, my hands on a cold wheel. Colossal clouds and an absent sun. The promise of rain that never arrives. Thoughts of home and thoughts of future, ending at a metal fence when I meet my destination. Secondhand heartbreak. I awoke to a text from a friend. I think I lost her, it read. Then I felt an odd feeling. Secondhand heartbreak. A familiar ache. I shared my wisdom, offered a light through the tunnel, and my friend made it out. 2019. As the decade's end draws near, we are blessed with one more year. Decisions made on this date scarcely last all that late. But there's a certain promise of new things the 1st of January always brings. From 1 to 365 we repeat, routine and practice keeping neat. But new events await, people and places destined by fate. After a night of bursting skies, in early morning I close my eyes, anticipating the days yet to be seen. Here's to writing a new chapter in 2019. Take a trip. A bit of distance is all that's required to achieve separation from things desired, from things overlooked and taken for granted, pointless mantras repeatedly chanted. The ins and outs of daily life, nothing different. Often all one needs is a bit of distance. What matters least and what matters most. The difference is clear when both are ghosts. The things and people I love to see stream through my mind as I write by the sea. Different worlds, but in the same land. Leaving the concrete village to lounge in sand. Gulls, waves, crash, splash, far from the daily dash. The balancing of love, life, school, work, and cash. But regardless of location, beach, city, or town, your perspective changes when new things are around. Even if you're no more than an hour away, even if your adventure lasts just a day, there will be realizations, things will be missed, things you have likely never noticed. So take a trip by car, train, or plane. Take a trip within your soul or brain. You will find some peace of mind can keep you from becoming blind. Bulldogs. My early days were full of bulldogs, my father's collection. Bulldogs of porcelain and felt, with plentiful wrinkles. Proud pudgy noses placed in the air, the colors of sandstone and marmalade. Dogs with heads that bobbled in agreement with my glee. Dogs that laid motionless, awaiting a belly rub. Dogs with strong posture, supporting rows of books. Dogs with divots from the fingers of their sculptors. These amused miniatures were family, a source of entertainment and comfort. Much like the living bulldog from our Virginia house, with whom I would bathe in sunlight. The inspiration for this set of statues, and the unending love of bulldogs. Balustrade. The memories of that day are blurry and faded, that evening when I stood in the North Sea. I can remember the summer sun reflecting off the blue, and the company of my pack, the energy of those loving few. As I ventured further into the frigid waters, immersing my legs and soon my torso in the shiver-inducing sea. The rest is fairly hazy, almost as if it were a dream entirely. Enough time has passed, it feels like another life. But one day, I will return to you, North Sea, and we will share a cold embrace once again. The Lady. In a small hut lives a lady. Each day her routine stays mostly unchanged. The lady goes on brief excursions to fetch water, a necessity. The lady wanders around, stumbling onto peculiar items. She cannot quite recall if she saw them yesterday or not. The lady receives food from the sky and is grateful every night. The lady runs for miles, but often feels she's gone nowhere. Life can be repetitive for this young prickly rodent, but it is the company of giants that makes life whole. A kiss from the mist. When the swift kiss of a dangerous abyss lifts you up into the mist and whispers, but it has a lisp, and you respond with a fist, saying angrily it's next on your list, but you've missed. And the lips that it kissed feel no bliss, for the mysterious unknown has a mistress offering you unseen shifts, wonder that would grow like a cyst, but you refused to enlist. You howled and hissed, so be my guest to confess, you're left with less. Instead of a treasure chest, you've got stress in your chest. Rather than blessed, you recall how you were caressed, and your heart is left a mess. Your mind is obsessed with the unknown, the kiss, the promise that's gone. The show. Lately I've been aching to reconnect, to return to the golden age of innocence, unfiltered creativity, untainted imagination, where I would write by the light of the chandelier, my pencils dulling, my pens drying, my stacks of paper dwindling, when my ideas needed no approval, when they needn't be published, when the ideas went straight from my mind to the paper, a direct transfer of thought and spirit. If I could regain that will. Now, all the art that comes from my mind is part of a career, a portfolio, a body of work. No longer am I the sole audience member in my mind's auditorium, clapping theatrically at each act. Now the doors have opened to the masses, and admission must cost if the show can go on. The show must be worth the price of the ticket, but still a show I will love nonetheless. This too shall pass. I never quite understood the expression, a weight on my chest, until I felt a weight on my chest. And this weight on my chest weighed on the rest of me. This anxious essence, untethered to any thought, striking nerves and pulling strings, bringing distress during the most calm moments. No purpose and no reason. An emotional anomaly, intrusive, irritating, irregular. As I write these words by candlelight, before a sunset window, I seek to bring a breath of peace to my body and my mind. I seek to remind myself, this too shall pass. What they say. They say our memories shape us. No. We have thousands of memories. We are shaped by only a few, the ones by which we define our pasts. They say who we know determines who we are. No. We know hundreds of people. We are impacted by only some. The friends we choose to hold close, those whose wisdom we take to heart. They say we can do anything we dream. No. We dream of countless things, we accomplish just a handful. the ones we sacrifice for, the ones we fight to manifest. Sad hugs. That moment was meant to be joyful, like usual, and it would have been if not for the state of the world. But in these strange times, I'll take what pure love I can get, ending our night with sad hugs, walking away in tears. Coffee shop. Coffee is a taste I have always detested, but coffee shops are places where my mind is tested. With some creative tool set before me, I attempt to conjure a story that won't bore me. Surrounded by art boldly on display, I must resist the grip of dismay. For my art is hung nowhere but my own wall, but lack of recognition won't cause me to fall. Surely someone in the shop is more well known than me. Perhaps they've published a book, maybe 2 or even 3. But the caffeine in the air and my unkempt hair remind me of my purpose for being there. To hone in on my craft, let go of distractions, and outwork all the others with my words and my actions. Time. Years pass, scars remain. Does time heal all wounds, or does it simply numb them? A grandmother's love. One of the world's best kept secrets, even more so than grandma's hidden recipes, is the value of grandma's love. For a grandmother loves truly without conditions. She will stand beside you through life's troubles, and wouldn't miss your milestones for the world. The tough side of the love has already been handled, so a grandmother gets to enjoy all the joyful parts. Watching movies, giving gifts, holidays and hugs, exploring, relaxing, playing games, and more. Grandma's love has always been here for me, and when she is across the map, I feel it, and I know she will not be away long. The top. What to do when the fruits of your labor taste bitter, when the peak of the mountain is cold and barren, when the flashing lights do no more than blind you, when you discover the keys but they don't fit the lock, when you achieve your dreams but they're not what you'd hoped, when striving for greatness was better than having it, when the journey truly mattered more than the destination, when your heart was fuller back when you were trying to fill it. What to do, what to do, what to do. The danger of art. Art can isolate one beautiful thing, making all else invisible. It can let a pure romance become the only thing in the world. Art can isolate one terrible thing, making all else forgotten. It can turn a single issue into the only thing worth fighting for. One single piece of art cannot be trusted, for what we see is far too subjective. But the stories we tell can expose our darkest selves and bring us closer to the light. Hawaii. I miss you, Hawaii. I met you far too early to understand your beauty, but now I see it. And whenever I return to your serene salt air, soft sand between toes, ravishing deep waves, and sweet shaved ice, I will feel welcome, and I will smile. The Werewolf Book. I pulled the dust-coated book from the shelf in that weary room of near pitch black. Light came from the passing of trucks, shining through the folds of the blinds, until I located a lamp with a flexible neck and positioned it to brighten the book. With it as my guide, I flipped through pages, departing from the room in which I laid. A tale of a werewolf was the story I found, written into the novel's paperback pages, and face to face with the werewolf I was, as the moon outside remained a crescent. Stardust. We all tend to forget we were made from stardust. What a magnificent illusion we've built for ourselves. The divisions we have on our little blue planet, judgments and preconceived notions of each other. We are all entirely different, yet beautifully alike, each of us intertwined with the fabric of the universe. Though we feel new to the world, recalling a set of years, we have existed longer than we believe. Nothing is new, nothing is gone, so say the laws of matter. Our blood was here before humans walked the earth. I was made from the remnants of stars, as were you, and the future will be made from the remnants of us. See you later. We said no goodbyes, only see you laters. Yet on that day, tears came streaming nonetheless. I laid my head on your shoulder on the park bench in the morning, and you whispered sweet words to comfort me. Back home, we shared breakfast in the summer shade. Joined by my family, we ate beneath the moving clouds. After some TV, it came time for you to part with them. You wore sunglasses so no one would see you cry. I wiped tears from my eyes before driving. That moment was when it hit the both of us. You and I were not splitting, this much was agreed. It was our memories to which we were saying goodbye. There would be no more walks home from school. There would be no more 7-minute drives to see each other. There would be no more takeout from our favorite spots. These traditions would end on this day. Of course, new traditions would arise in years to come, but a chapter of our life was being permanently closed. Rarely is there such a stark end to something so loved, and a bittersweet end it certainly was. After a snow cone outing, we retreated to your home. We would spend quite some time on the sofa, lit by the television and the orange glow of the lamp, laughing and conversing as if we had all the time in the world. As each hour on the clock passed, our smiles turned more somber. We tried to grab onto time, but it was far too fast. Soon enough, we were walking down the dark sidewalk, both concealing tears to protect one another. But when we reached the car, we let them flow, and shared an emotional embrace. We dared not say goodbye, only see you later. Our hands lingered, and then let go. I drove home under a sky of scattered stars, and returned to your empty house the next day. I miss you, darling, but I know you are destined for greatness. The world is not ready for what you will create alone. My brother, thank you for your faith in me. You were a believer from the beginning. Your support came in surplus, and your friendship in even greater amounts. My brother, we will build a kingdom. We will travel this wild world, and each day will be nothing short of absolute greatness. This much I can promise. A kind soul. It broke my heart to hear your heart was broken, when all you ever did was seek to end the hurt of others. You deserve better than what this world has to offer. I pray your days are better, your eyes dry and tear-free. May your joy be reciprocated by those around you, and may your kindness be reflected wherever you may go. 0 degrees. It is 0 degrees outside. Surely someone has died. But the rush of wind and the cruel cold air strangely attract me beyond compare. Normally I stay indoors, my hands on the keys, my feet on the floors. The light of my screen is addictive as hell, but the light outside is enticing as well. Willing to bear the sting and the chill of the 0 degree day, cold enough to kill, I throw on a jacket, grab my laptop and pack it in my bag as I head out the door to fulfill my wishes to truly branch out and explore. Too often I'm confined by my own bedroom door. But today I take my screen to a new destination so I may write and release my imagination. I arrive at the coffee shop, order hot chocolate, listen to the busy employees who talk a lot, write to my heart's consent. My mind expels words as I peer out the window at the trees and the birds. I continue my writing, now somewhere new. You didn't expect me to go walking, did you? On a tedious trudge through the snow to go play? Perhaps I will save that for another day. But for now, I have chosen this table, where I will write a poem, tale, or fable as I gaze out the glass at the birds atop trees on this beguiling day that is 0 degrees. I see and I feel. Lightning strikes as I extend my arm to the heavens. Thunder claps with each exhalation. I boast command of the storm. Glows from beneath the foliage, edges of leaves ablaze, like a dozen small yellow flames burning for me. The crunch of stone beneath my feet, holding life in my hand, if I could be a giant who commands the storm. Marching with an array of rainbow lights, lines of color dancing behind me, empowering my stride. Alone, so all movements echo. The storm echoes. Winds, behind me, start and stop. A nostalgic shadow races ahead, like the head of a lion with watchful eyes. Frozen in time, frozen in place, frozen in heat. Is a manufactured garden still as beautiful? Voices dim like lights, and I am as still as rainfall. Blue whale. The blue whale of New York, you know the one. Breathtakingly huge, hanging over a massive ambient room, suspended by wires, belly facing the open floor, translucent windows casting gray light on its edges, a comforting carpeted floor beneath it. Most passers-by simply gaze starstruck from the side, but we lay beneath the whale and look upward. They say it takes a leader, then a follower, then more will come. Surely enough, after time passes looking at the beautiful beast, we rise from the floor and stretch our limbs, to find a trend was set. The floor is now scattered with people, doing as we did, simply because we did. What a marvelous feeling beneath the blue whale. Ode to Clouds. Not often enough do we sky gaze at the slow-moving beasts overhead, a space nebula, ever present yet overlooked, flying fluidly, untouchable, unreal. Only one color, but many. Marshmallows in the morning, raspberries and peaches in the evening. An unswimmable sea owned by none. Blue canvas, thick white paint, invisible brush. Sometimes the clouds cry. Often they encase the sun. Halo. Distant plain in the stream of clouds. Within it, endless thoughts and stories. A bottle with a message on an ocean of wonder. Look at the whole. They are motionless. Single spot, uncatchable. Glorious white abyss. My words are hollow, attempting to describe the indescribable. Taste a color, feel a sound, unachievable. A magnificent paradox. So much cannot be done to the clouds, yet they whisper echoes of the impossible. Gentle voice still fills the sky. I wish I could. Valentine. Candy heart, be mine. What does it know of Valentines? For none hold fate, and none can know of my true soulmate. 'Tis no more than a day, yet the 14th it must stay. Faded text, one dimension, unsure of now or next. Empathy. Is empathy selfish? Why must we trade shoes to feel sorrow? To understand hurt, why must we pretend to feel it ourselves? Would you only lend a hand if you could see yourself in their position? Need you imagine it was your child, parent, or friend to feel their loss? Humanity ought to bind us all. Let us love each other selflessly. 17 years. When the crowd views art, they clap to rate it. I think that response is fabricated. Judging art by the number of people who clap is a dangerous mindset. Don't fall in that trap. Don't count your art's worth in dollars, critical reviews, or essays from scholars. Art is how I cope with the monster in the mirror. Honestly, I wish the glass was a bit clearer. Honestly, I wish adulthood was a bit near. Death sent me flowers, so I really don't fear her. I stay away from the sword and I hold the pen dear. I wish you knew what the universe whispered in my ear. I want to make stories that transcend time. I want to challenge standards. My lines don't have to sound the same. Now more than ever, we need a revolution. That realization took me many solar revolutions. It took me 17 years to learn life's what you make of it. Typical advice I should have followed for the sake of it. Stand straight, act tough, don't be any girlier. I wish they told me it was my own life a little earlier. I'm not blaming family, I'm blaming the media, spewing out more words than an encyclopedia. Social's supposed to be the cure. I don't see it treating you. How come you're the consumer, but it's the one eating you? Creating a culture of dwelling on the bad. Creating a market of selling to the sad. These people set negativity as the paradigm of art, but they would not invest a pair of dimes to art. Worn down internet faces complaining. Easy to stoop to their level, but I'm refraining. The toxic glow can be intoxicating. Some days I wish we could discuss and stop debating. After 17 years, I'm finally shutting out the voices, the whispers of doubt and the clones lacking choices. Life is the ballroom and we are the dancers. 17 years and I'm still looking for answers. But I have a few of them, and I have no feud with them. Yet in still my innocence I realize I'll lose to them. Knowledge is power, but it seems wisdom is bliss. I hope to know more before death comes for her next kiss. 18 years. Here we are, an entire year has passed. I couldn't tell you where the time went if you asked. The hands on the clock seem to go faster each year. Not soaking in the memories is one of few things I fear. So I document these moments with a camera or a pen. I keep a permanent record of everything that's been. And then that painful thought comes knocking on my heart. I should have lived those moments, not turned them into art. When should art be made? What should art cost? If you spend your life saving moments, how many will be lost? I've been around the sun yet another time, and I've learned I'm truly not the best at rhyme. But as my story grows and exceeds these ceilings, I still carry my notebook and jot down my feelings. Now I've given up some things in pursuit of my fitness, all while living through a time unlike anything I've witnessed. The world is hurting and sick, it often seems. Our country appears to be splitting at the seams. Some march through the streets hoping to create change. Others march through the streets spreading hate and rage. The people guiding the narrative just add fuel to the flames. It seems many have forgotten we were all born the same. Society separates its people and pits them against each other. But every human on earth came from the same mother. I feel more driven than ever to create the world I envision, to help bridge the gaps created by these divisions. I've learned nobody knows everything, everyone fails. Each of us are building our ships as we sail. Yet I seek to sail to the very furthest sea. I seek to learn about all that matters to me. I seek to explore, find what it means to be free. I seek to wander this planet through mountains and trees. I seek to change hearts and minds with my creativity. I seek to end every day with friends and family. I seek to make art, make memories, and everything of the sort. Some days life is long, and some days life is short. Change takes time, love and joy are hard to find, but achieving the life you want begins with your mind. So shape the world the way you wish to see it, and if there's something this world needs, then be it. I want to be alive. Dedication to the digital world comes at a cost. There are many opportunities I have certainly lost. Too busy creating worlds to realize I'm living in one. Too busy following ambition to ever simply have fun. I want to step outside. I want to explore. I want to go further than I have before. Find a stranger, sit with them and talk. Take different turns as I go on a walk. End up in a place I have never before seen. Treat everyone I meet like a king or a queen. Talk about life and purpose, no more pointless chatter. Ask questions about the world, stuff that really matters. Make more art, but not just sitting before a screen. Write, draw, film, create things truly unseen. Love the sun, the rain, the snow, the shine. Know that no matter the weather, this world is mine. Do away with frustration over petty issues. Be happy, but do not fear reaching for tissues. Cry, laugh, smile, frown. Be a human being. Try harder to fix the countless problems I'm seeing. This earth is imperfect, as flawed as humankind, but with an adventurous heart and a positive mind. Perhaps I can better the world as I achieve my goal of feeling fully alive, having a real living soul. Loudspeaker. Find your message, the one you seek to share with the entire human race, the one you would say if given a loudspeaker that could reach every set of ears across the globe, the one you would put on your tombstone, the one you would tattoo on your forearm, the one you wish you knew when you were younger. Find that message and share it every single chance you get. Put it in your captions, place it below your signature. Share it with those you love and those who listen. You may not have a loudspeaker, but the world will hear your message if you speak it. A moment in Miami. Smiling from a balcony with my mother, overlooking a raspberry sunset. Her grin could not be forgotten. This is what life is about. Memories with my father. Certain memories are etched into my story, unerasable. Like driving home from the local pool with my father, skin kissed by the sun and hair dampened, retreating into the basement together to play games on an outdated television, clutching remotes and sitting before the glowing screen, and walking to a store, the purpose of which escapes me, buying strawberry gummies and sitting in the concrete shade. Morning drives to school, where my father recited wisdom, while I obsessed over my hair in the passenger mirror. Saturdays at the gym, and Sundays at the golf range, dabbling in athleticism where I had no business being, laying on the floor of my father's office as he edited photographs of me to fulfill my fantasies. He placed me in outer space, or clashing with monsters, or soaring over cities, or defeating mighty villains. His office was a center for creativity and knowledge. His computer screen supplied my childhood with wonder. Watching legendary films and learning their secrets, hugging in hardship and laughing in leisure, my father taught me much and showed me the world. Buried in the sand. It's always such a funny feeling, burying your feet in the sand. Maybe everyone does it, or maybe it's just me. When walking on the beach, I always notice the way the sand forms around my feet each time I take a step. Sometimes I just stop and shift my feet back and forth until the sand has completely covered them. And suddenly, I look planted into the ground like a tree emerging from the earth. Occasionally, I wonder how far down the sand really goes. If I just kept shifting my feet all day, would my entire body be immersed by sunset? Maybe so. Then I would disappear forever. Could I be heard by anyone above ground if I had buried myself deep within the sands? I suppose if I opened my mouth to shout, it would fill with sand. A self-inflicted sand burial would be quite the way to go. I'll most likely stick to just nuzzling my feet into the refined rocks, planting myself in a perfect spot with a view of the ocean. How my mind wanders when I'm on the beach. An evening in Berryville. Sweet sensation of iced tea below a summer sun. In the evening as the skies turn speckled gold and royal blue. Chatter from family spaced across the lawn, their voices accompanied by music from a speaker. A fence of tan panels surrounding us, swaying trees above them. Flowers in the garden, dancing in unison to summer songs. These are the feelings of which I will never tire. I will always return for this. Dragons and Gold. She told me a story of dragons and gold. I dreamt of them all night and awoke to a world of magic. Adventure awaits. I wake up and greet the sky, the mellow trees, the congregating clouds. A new day, 24 hours to make a difference, 1,440 minutes. What to do? Art to be made, stories to tell, people to see, places to go. Adventure awaits. A fresh opportunity to change, to be what I was not yesterday, to be more than what I have been. I love today. It is my favorite day. Escape. How goes the path I climb to reach the clear hilltop? Where blows the wind and trees in a sweet harmony? There part the clouds to reveal the smiling sun. Here come the thoughts of solitude and peace. Near am I to thriving and lush woodland life. Far am I from the fading sounds of speeding cars. Close are the calls of birds to my awaiting ears. Away are the noises and thoughts I seek to leave. Found is solace when I cast aside doubt and fear. Brought forth is love upon the calling of generosity. Honest is anger, but I hereby release my resentment. True to my forever changing self I will remain. Unproductive. Was this a bit of an unproductive day? I believe so, but what would you say? Lounging around, wondering what to do? I call that lazy. What about you? You think it's important, I think not. I don't really understand that thought. I guess all great ideas come from great deals of thinking, but when my head floods with ideas, then it starts sinking. Every day I want to run further toward my goal. I don't want to look back on wasted time when I'm old. But for the sake of progress, I measured today in miles. Perhaps I should have measured it in smiles. I rated today based on my word count, but instead I should have made my words count when I spoke to my family and friends, because the value of love knows no ends. Speaking to the mother who raised me, or the father who every single day has praised me, or the girl of my dreams who reminds me every day that I did a good job regardless of what I say. Even when I lock myself in my room for hours, crazily crafting art until I feel empowered, it doesn't mean as much as the time that I showered, fixed my hair, dressed up, and brought Camille flowers. Because the smile on her face meant more to me than art. It went beyond words and it struck me in the heart. Was this a bit of an unproductive day? I don't believe so. But what would you say? A plea. Lately, politicians on our planet have been partaking in practices that are plenty problematic, and they're potentially plotting to prevent people from receiving practical protection amidst a pandemic, and I'm pondering if the practices presently in play are part of the plan, and what provoked this pandemonium. How can we petrify the paradigm? Because it's pertinent we pick a president who can set a plausible precedent and placate the people rather than praise himself, act with plausibility and think preemptively, to prevent this plague from punishing the poor while protecting those in positions of power with privilege and prejudice. Please, a plan is a prerequisite to promising results, and we cannot reach the pinnacle of peace until the plethora of powerful people on our planet are perturbed enough to provide the pieces of the puzzle at a pace that will properly permeate. This is of paramount importance, so I say once more, please, please, please. Evening story time. You pulled the words from those books, delicately sculpted them into seeds, and planted stories in my head. They have grown tall and strong. City below the mountains. Ships in the harbor, fish on the market tables, tall skinny houses of red and yellow all around. Museums and shops, loved by tourists and the locals. A train to the mountaintop. What a beautiful view. Words. I fell in love with the words I found, revealed by a flashlight. They poke at me beneath my blanket, from my nightstand and shelves. The words and I are bound. I am touched by them, and often they are created by me. The words are my weapon and my salvation. I go to them to cleanse my thoughts, or add new joy to my life. Two lovers. Light from the rising sun fills the home, like iced tea being poured into a glass. Two lovers live in this tall house, having wandered the world for years. As the sun seeps through the window, their hearts are truly content. Grumbles turn to stretches and smiles. Good morning is muttered faintly. They embrace, entering a new day of joy. The hug is warm and blissful. No regret or worry could taint this love. Twins. Thunder and lightning, hugs and kisses, pen and paper, sweet and sour, socks and shoes, eggs and bacon, unalike yet tied together, entirely different but inseparable, a matched set of unique individuals. We were there, at the edge of her deck, peering over a dark void, bats circling overhead. I said, "Darling, close your eyes," and she complied with a grin. Imagine we're at a beach with pale sand, turquoise waves and a fog, trees secluding us from the world. Echoes come from the sea's infinity, for only us to hear. It's just us, love. In that moment, dreams were real. The future was now. We were there, on the beach. Our fingers overlapped. My eyes closed too. We were there. A simple thirst. Darling, one day we'll be far from here, adventuring. My heart aches with anticipation. My eyes swell with the lovely thoughts. Our earth so wide, our world so free. Take me to the places where I may be lost, with no more than water and wind as my guide. I beg you. A time. Living through a time so foreign, a time as unusual as it is sorrowful, a time where each day brings the promise of darkness or light. The divide has never been more clear. I ache with empathy, as history plays out before my eyes. The flaws in our system exposed, the hatred in our heart disclosed. Our place in the world made obvious, a solemn reminder of the threat of silence and inaction, the greater evils of corruption, oppression, greed, and prejudice. For too long I slumbered through the rain, sheltered and secluded, burdened with knowledge I cannot remain asleep. Through this storm sweeping away millions, or through the quieter, neglected storms, the floods that we refuse to dam. This is a time I will not forget. Memories to photographs. Warm nights full of songs and laughs, those memories turn into photographs. Remembering every detail is tedious, so we record our lives on social medias. But while the echoes of joy remain fresh in my mind, quiet and peace are often best to find, away from the busy voices of digital posts, so my feelings are not destined to become ghosts. For years I want these emotions to stick. I want to look back on a moment, not a pic. Christmas Eve. Lying beneath a disarray of sheets, gripping a pillow, turning and tossing, speculating about the coming morning, what would be found under glowing lights, strategizing how best to fall asleep, but failing to enter a state of rest, knowing the sooner sleep is achieved, the sooner the morning will arrive, but sleep dances around the room, boasting its ability to elude me, and so alas, it surrenders as eyelids close, and the morning is brought forth, morning of mystic surprises and glee, where love is felt and joy abounds. I love you. If we found ourselves in the blistering cold, stranded on a mountainside, no hope in sight, our love would keep us alive. If we were lost in a cavern, miles from daylight, with a maze of tunnels diverging before us, our love would guide us to safety. If our boat was sinking into the powerful sea, and we were losing faith with each desperate breath, our love would keep us afloat. If a storm of great strength tried to pull us apart, thrusting mighty winds and claps of thunder, our love would hold us together. If voices of doubt reached our ears, and the whole world was against us, our love would keep us sane. If life brought us down to our knees, and our minds were in complete disarray, our love would remind us what matters. If we were separated by canyons and oceans, worlds apart, unsure when we may meet again, our love would keep us connected. If our bodies grow old and fragile, and our bones begin to weaken, our love will keep us both strong. Soup. The caterpillar, a quiet critter, encases itself in a chrysalis after taking one last look at the world. It breaks down into a lifeless soup before reforming into a winged wonder. But the butterfly somehow maintains a vague recollection of life before the dark. The soup somehow remembers. How does it remember? Golden Age. Faded faces from a time before, stoic smiles and wicked grins, dashing or leaping across pages, fists flung forward toward evil, muted colors worn by the years, prints from the hands of the curious, blotted letters crammed into bubbles, exclaiming simple statements of morality, silent commercials for products of the past, a complete relic of a beginning, the start of an era. Balloons. Why do balloons always float away? I wish just sometimes they would stay. The wind will tell them where to blow. Like childhood, up and away they go. Specks of red, yellow, blue, and green travel through clouds till they can't be seen. Just as we release those ribbons with ease, so do we let go of dear memories. Affirmation. To my fellow young creators, stop saying you want to be something. Start saying you are something. You are not an aspiring artist. You do not hope to become an artist. You are not a young artist in training. You are an artist. Zoo. Strolling beneath the swimming sea lions, sightseeing among the slithering snakes, observing orangutans and other apes, grazing the gentle chin of a giraffe, coming into contact with other koi creatures, and purchasing products from plenty of places. A trap for tourists with vivid views for visitors. Happy birthday! Each year, we are reminded of our mortality through a celebration. We mark an entire year of achievements with a cake. 365 days come to a swift conclusion as we blow out candles. We take another step on life's staircase with balloons surrounding us. Though strange, these traditions find us in good company, and I am grateful to unwrap the gift of life time and time again. Fly swatter. My mind is a swarm of ideas. My pen is a fly swatter. Seldom able to hit one, even then, only a silhouette of the life it had in the storm. I am not yesterday. We are granted a reboot every morning if we choose to accept it. We may live the day we wish we lived yesterday, or decide today will be entirely new. We may stop and smell the violets, or perhaps make a friend along the way. Or we can be productive, change the world between sunrise and sundown. Seizing the day is a tricky task. The pages of the calendar turn quickly, and each year is shorter than the last. How we govern a day is how we live a year. So will you structure time accordingly? Will you plan something grand every day and plot your life on paper before living it? The days go by faster when all of them are deadlines. Or will the morning sun decide for you how the day is to be lived and how the year follows? What adventure awaits, memories unmade. But if each day is a wave, never lose sight of the sea. Break the cycle and say, I am not yesterday. I am not the decisions I made a year ago. I am not the things I neglected and lost. You may live how you please so long as you're living. Each morning we may customize our character. We may alter our choices, our minds, our hearts. This is our burden and our gift, and we must use it. We are not yesterday. We are now. Procrastination. When I was a boy, I could fill an entire journal with stories in a day. Now I stare longingly at a blank notebook page, waiting for an ingenious idea to appear. As if ink may materialize at any moment, form letters between these blue lines, and arrange themselves into perfect phrases that would ensnare any reader with their simple beauty. But no such literary miracle will occur. I bear the burden of translating my thoughts into comprehensible, rational statements. But procrastination seizes my hands, pulling me away from the task, chancing excuses and distracting my mind, until I at last commit to wielding my pen as a sword, slash away the grip of my enemy, and write a damn poem. Untitleable. Occasionally, the beauty of a poem's subject is so immense that words can no longer describe it, and the emotions of the poet become lost in translation. The unspeakable remains unwritten, and then the difference. Oh, you're all out of male fish? Sure, I'll take a female. What's the difference? The difference is peering into the fish tank and finding a dozen new baby fish. The difference is swooping in with a net to save them from their cannibalistic mother. The difference is late nights of research on caring for newborn guppies. The difference is a dozen more pregnancies because who knew female fish could store sperm? The difference is regular visits to the pet store, donating bags of these orange infants. The difference is paying for a brand new tank 4 times the size of the previous one. The difference is leaving the old tank stagnant so long that aquatic mosquito larvae hatch in it. The difference between a male guppy and a female guppy is a life of serenity versus a life of chaos. Choose wisely. Florida breeze. One breezy Florida night, my father and I stood by the ocean. The sky was dark, the winds were harsh, and waves were in motion. Endless waters and pitch black is a feeling I can't explain. I began asking wild questions one might have found insane. The two of us stood, our feet in the sand, debating the most absurd thoughts. Why the water tempted these inquiries, I truly know not. But we asked one another questions, unheard in normal conversation, questions no student is posed in years of education, and I believe the endlessness of the waves and the mystic breeze made me feel free, as though I could ask anything I pleased. Years later, I wonder why we have so few talks like these, with our fathers, mothers, siblings, friends, strangers, and families. Because perhaps if we always felt as free as I did that night, we would speak into the air wild thoughts to our delight. And instead of asking, how's the weather, or how have you been, we might ask, when in life have you felt you reached your zen? When and why have you felt loss, love, torment, peace, or otherwise? Why don't you and I gaze at the oceans, mountains, fields, or skies? Would you care to eat a meal with me? Because we haven't spoken in too long. Or maybe we've never spoken, and I'm still yet to hear your song. Why don't you sing me your story? Tell me all you truly feel. You can share your deepest truths. I promise not to steal. These questions and feelings ought to be celebrated, not banished. Yet from the minds of many around me, they seem to have vanished. because our society cherishes these uniform beliefs as though we are men and women in a tribe following a chief. But we have no one single mind. That concept has died. Anyone saying free will is non-existent has lied. Our thoughts, minds, wills, work, and art belong to no other. But more often than not, it is the free breath that is smothered. You are free to disagree with all I've said, and I you. Just know that when I have felt boxed in, I sigh too. For there is no confinement aside from that in my mind, and as I scribble these words, I choose to leave it behind. Now I will explore the universe unbothered and unfazed. I will feel that free Florida breeze for the rest of my days. Snowing at sunset. Purple sky of love, snow falling gentle as air, beautifully strange. Best friend. A decade of memories, silver age of youth, creating stories to pass the time, imagining the worlds we wanted, speaking of those we loved and lost. Late nights in your basement and mine. Your family was my family. There for me when the rain came, with me when the sun rose. Saw me at my worst, remained close. Thank you for seeing past my flaws. There for every 31st and 2nd. Knew me better than myself sometimes. The best friend I didn't deserve. I wish you saw me today. Having grown, having learned. May life in Boston be all you hoped. And may your travels take you further. One day our paths will cross again. Rain on a sunny day. My heart feels like rain on a sunny day, the drops appearing sporadically across pavement, clouds of gray with glowing auras, the unmistakable patter on an umbrella. I feel the bittersweet sting of an argument with a loved one, work wasted on memories, unplaceable sadness in the midst of joy, a beautiful hurt, a reminder of humanity. While the future is unclear, today I feel. Saunter. We walked on lemon streets under whipped cream clouds, playing music from our souls and laughing with the world, sharing a game of catch with our humorous thoughts about our obscure place in this bizarre life we live. Strangers passed us by, speeding down the sidewalks, while the clouds above turned mystic and violet. Our reflections were absent from the nearby store windows. The birds sang to us, and we returned the favor. Mysterious creatures fluttered about the neighborhood, and aromas from distant delicacies reached us. This saunter lasted longer than either of us planned, for time slows down with every smile. The hotel. Crystal pool, blazing flames, cranberry cookies, warm lights, Christmas tree, new friend, breakfast alone, green hilltop, farmer's market, dark honey, hallway window, joyful morning, distant love, peaceful breeze, brisk wind, heavy bags, perfect sleep. Candle. Otherworldly essence, prancing in place, stretching and springing, tilting at the slightest nudge, dancing to the faintest tune, releasing a stream of gray, illuminating my page, enlightening my senses, with scents of hot chocolate, or perhaps blueberry pancakes, to be embers when it expires, but dancing now while alive. Untold tales. So many stories, so many ideas, such little life, such little time. Some tales will be left untold. New city. It astounds me that a 5-hour drive can transport me into a foreign world. Waking from a dreary backseat nap, entering a new city, I find captivating art, exquisite culture and exciting faces, cloud-reaching towers, horizon-meeting waters. Nature and man's world blend together in this abstract paradise of life. Standing on land's end, I spot birds, a feathered family in the shallow waters. Across the way is a tremendous fountain and an unusual reflective sculpture. The street lamps glow with orange, while the city sways in the breeze. Don't worry, I promise you on my heart, darling, through this great life you needn't worry. Life will come to us, it will come in time. We mustn't rush, we mustn't hurry. There is no need for these thoughts, love. Worry brings only fear and distress. There is no need for these feelings, love. Worry causes needless angst and unrest. If you spend your days, telescope in hand, always looking at what lies ahead, you will miss the scenery passing you by. Seas blue, sunsets yellow, roses red. All you've ever feared would happen, and all you worry may one day come. Hasn't happened, and will not, my love. There is nothing we cannot overcome. Early years. I don't think one ever forgets the place of their earliest memories. I can recall the feelings of that blue room, the voices of song and faces of friends, a place of pure bliss and innocence, where the days went by like passing clouds, and smiles were never scarce among us. My childhood still lives in recent archives of my mind's extensive library. I still envision the exact expressions of those people who shaped my youth. Chalk drawings on the asphalt outside, huddles on the carpet for readings of stories, toys that sparked creativity and conflict, stations of exploration and discovery. What happens in those early years of life is truly never forgotten. The Villagers and the Fish. The village lies in a peaceful valley at the base of a grand mountain. Their only water comes from the stream, no reservoir or fountain. They live humble lives, they sell and trade, they live to help each other. No villager is more powerful or stands above another. The skies are gray, the clouds are full, and the grass grows strong and tall. Craftsmen and blacksmiths build things a-many, but they need no weapons at all. The village neighbors the sea, and in the sea swim the fishes. Those creatures closest to shore tend to end up on villagers' dishes. Life is serene, as life can be, for the tiny village that lies by the sea. Summer Camp. I never got a chance to ask your name, and for a while I wondered if you were meant to be a stranger from a place I'd soon forget, or if I had missed a chance to make a friend. First to last. The first time is never as sentimental as the last. We emotional creatures tend to dwell on the past, so we repeatedly reminisce on the very first, until the very last feels the absolute worst. During the first, we didn't know it was the first of anything, but during the last, we know it is the last of many things. Aching hands in the blistering cold, a feeling felt when both young and old. Snowfall from a blank sky, falling ever so fast, like the memories which happened from the first to the last. Hidden Gem. A dome full of history in this barren ghost town. Lush landscapes, rich in greenery, richer in feelings. Hallways and libraries, a place meant for exploring, delightfully gorgeous in both summer and winter. Finding art. Mining with a pencil, chiseling away bits and pieces of useless stone to discover the rare and few chunks of pure gold. Drawing words from the trees, whispered by the birds, thoughts formed by nature. Which came first, the art or the artist? Like grapes fermented into wine, memories became stories, the fruits of life turned into poetry. The season. Walls are lined with faces meant to instill fear. The rituals of horror and games commence. We wear our robes, bandages, paint, or masks, and leave a light on for neighborhood strangers. Scars are drawn on our bodies as we make light of darkness. Thrilling laughter echoes through the streets. Children are the bravest among us. This year I heard the moon will be full, and the second of the harvest, telling flashlight tales and taunting friends with the promise of evil on this eve. I know not from whence this tradition came, something of saints and warding off devils, but I know where this tradition shall stay, in the hearts of those who seek joy and thrills. always there. Like the sun, behind the clouds, she was always there. Even when I was blinded by the troubles of life, the burdens of youth, and the pains of change, she remained there, providing warmth, giving guidance. She was patient and she was present, for stories and laughs, for smiles and hugs, for building me up and holding me together. Thank you, Mom. You are always there. Feelings. The ache in your hand when you stab someone's back and they are yet to bleed. The hurt in your heart when you lend out your trust and you end up paying the fee. The pain in your chest when you swallow your pride, but it doesn't go down easily. The pressure on your mind when you carry a grudge and your enemy lives rent-free. The smile in your soul after a friend passes on, but they haven't left completely. The joy of a sailor when he's miles from shore and he tosses his fears to the sea. The boldness of a soldier when he stands alone but still refuses to flee. The tear in my eye when I say I've moved on, but part of you stays with me. Move on. How to move on? You don't. You can move on from the pain. You can move on from the obsession. You can move on from the feelings and memories even. But you cannot move on from what happened. Even after turning 100 pages, that dark passage remains in the prologue. Even after building 100 feet high, that broken brick remains in the foundation. It will forever be part of your story, part of your past, part of your soul. You cannot move on from you. Don't try. Transported. Birds sitting atop rubble. Mountain of clouds. Green leaves under a gray sky. The grass turns golden and bronze. Particles floating through sun rays, to be transported elsewhere in the world. Through a sight so familiar, a brisk breeze on a summer night, the morning calm at breakfast, winding roads with no end, a scent from the past, orange moon hanging above, to be transported away by a memory, by a thought, by a feeling. NYC. Lucky and blessed I am to have walked the streets of New York City, felt the sting of its winters, seen the beauty of its autumn colors, climbed the great rocks in Central Park, stood on balconies in awe of the skyline, passed by countless glowing billboards, conversed with the strangest characters, visited the most impressive shops, dined in legendary locations, lived in a building that still remembers me, celebrated birthdays and Christmases, tired my legs from hours of walking, worn out my smile from days of glee. Lucky and blessed I am to have lived, seen, and breathed New York City. Snowball. I wrote you a poem that was 4 pages long, full of memories and painful emotions, but I realized it only takes a few lines to express exactly what I wanted to say. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for 10 years of memories. I miss you. I love you. I hope this message reaches you, little white dragon. Sculptor. Don't call it a release, then keep complaining. Don't call it a lifestyle and keep abstaining. Refine your craft and define your art. Bleed for your art. Bleed for your art. You are not the negative things you write. You are not the crucifying lack of light. You are a sculptor chiseling away, knowing yourself will surface one day. So mold your own destiny, decide for yourself if you are meant to be an artist or a product on a shelf. Determine truthfully if you wish to be a man. Move the pen with your hand or let the pen move your hand. Your mind is the sea yet to be traveled. Your eyes are the many crashing waves. Your heart is the rock eroding to gravel, and your soul is the path being paved. End of the pier. With my family, I walked along the pier, absorbing the smells of salt water and funnel cake, the sounds of seagulls above gentle waves. Our feet proceeded across wooden planks, passing magicians and carnival characters. I I romanticized about some secret treasure we may find at the end of the pier, some unknown attraction beyond the roller coasters. We arrived at a vacant plot framed by rails. It overlooked the boundless Atlantic, and I thought to myself, this view is plenty. But another visual treat emerged. A seal swam in an entrancing formation just feet away from the pier. The few who stood by the rails got to witness the creature. It mesmerized us all. Sand Girl. Last night my dreams were lucid. My love was made of sand. Tell me what price it costs to revisit this distant land. In the dream there was a garden. Gorgeous flowers were aplenty. My sand girl and I took strolls. Tell me the fee, I will pay any. Lessons. Turn every moment into a memory. Master your emotions. Use words to make an impact. Trust the universe. Stay conscious of all life's happenings. Negativity is temporary. Keep moving. Write the stories you want to read. Build the world you want to live in. Break out of bad cycles. Never compromise the vision. Only you control your happiness. My hometown. This town is where I was raised, granted a cheerful childhood in a happy home, full of fireplace hugs, learning lessons through love, and magical traditions. This town is where I met my best friends, and our lives became forever intertwined, as we wasted time together playing games that made our hearts sing, so not a waste at all. This town is where I fell in love with a stranger who sat across from me. We built something beautiful thereafter, something lasting, something that matters. This town is where I wandered dead-end streets and empty parking lots, searching for something I'm not certain I've found yet or ever will. This town is where I learned who I am and who I certainly am not. I discovered this through meeting fellow humans from every walk of life. This town is where I began to love the world, not just my place in it, but the stones, leaves frail or full, birds of blue, towering trees, and scurrying critters. This town is where I woke up on 16 Christmas mornings and walked about the neighborhood on 16 Halloween evenings. This town is where I befriended a dog who became my companion for a decade, and dozens of other small creatures that came and went in my home. This town is where I visited my favorite stores and spots to eat, where I became known. I made these places part of life, landmarks for celebrations and joy. This town is where I took several jobs, one for no pay, one with my father, and one I'm still crafting for myself, to bring with me into the future. This town is where I confronted enemies, most of whom were internal, and found my chosen family, all of whom were undoubtedly real. This town was the birthplace of memories. This town was a forgery of love. This town is where life was lived, and this town will forever be home. Partner in crime. An ode to my twin from my father's brother, whose hair length has long rivaled my own, and whose creativity has been a supplement to mine, giving me new ideas and new approaches to art. Countless invaluable memories we made those years we lived beneath the same roof, watching films and making them together, laughing about life in the basement, brunches in the brisk city mornings, dinners in the delightful evenings at home. Many other miscellaneous adventures across town, discussing passions and interests and hobbies. We would have done even greater things had school and work been non-existent. But life is what life is, and time is precious. One day we will have that castle in Norway, which we have fantasized about. One day we will rule the world. Wanderer. I want to be a wanderer in every sense of the word. I want to wander this earth and lose myself, climb to the highest peaks and swim in the deepest seas, get lost in the forest and sleep under the stars, forget where I am and find myself again, lie down in the sand and let the birds circle me, see all the colossal gifts placed on this earth, learn all the secrets hidden in the trees. I want to wander my mind and discover its power, defeat worry and learn to live carefree, never doubt that all will be well, introduce myself to parts of me that were buried, learn to live in the moment, but plan for the future, kill my demons and free my angels, find solace through hurt, stay grounded in bliss. I want to wander amongst billions of people, meet as many humans as I can and forget some, make friends and foes, live and love, learn from everyone, steal knowledge and give in return. Find those who feel the way I do, and those who do not. Fight any who seek to destroy, help any who hope to build. Tell stories, make memories, wander. Puzzle. All the pieces of the puzzle will fit together unless you stop trying to solve it. I took a drive to the rocks to clear my head, climbed to the highest point to get some perspective. I sat by the water to see my reflection. He and I stared at each other for a while. I write down my thoughts in poems and stories whenever I run out of headspace. I can never be pleased with the last thing I made, always focused on what comes next instead. I scribble down affirmations and tape them to my walls, so I'm always surrounded by positivity. I have vivid dreams of the people I miss and people I'm yet to meet. I cried in my bed one night some weeks ago, then slept for 13 hours straight. I talk to myself when I go on walks and find my own company enjoyable. I have only 3 close friends, and they are my world, my chosen family. I can confide in them. I almost left for Chicago, but plans changed. Now I'm searching for a place in my hometown. I hold myself to a schedule now, 9 hours a day. This might be the year that changes my life. I was set on a career that truly wasn't right. Turns out isolation gave me a chance to think. I miss all the people from my high school, even the random faces I passed in the hallways. I stand close to the mirror and look deep into my eyes. Sometimes I need intimacy with myself. I put social media back on my phone for a while, but I got addicted again and deleted it. I sent emails to people that mattered to me, because I never got to properly say my goodbyes. I've had a headache since last Christmas, but it's getting better. Writing a letter to a ghost helped me heal. I haven't hugged my friends since March, but we're honestly closer than ever. I still want to live by the water one day, and I'm not letting go of those plans. I wrote down places in the world I want to visit. One day I promise I'll get there. I released a movie that I worked on for a year and turned the page on that chapter of my life. I've been working hard on my health, trying to shape up. This time I'm doing it just for myself. I made a commitment to make art with a meaning. Everything I do now will have a purpose. I read more books now, several a month, trying to learn what matters and unlearn what doesn't. I've been considering cutting my hair, wondering if that might free me. I can't believe life is passing by so quickly. 18 years was only a minute. I can't wait to see what comes next in life. Nothing is truly certain. Art. It's time to release some of myself, parts bottled and shelved. I found a cavern in my heart, and that is where I delved. I found a mine of memories, the memories are mine. I ought to share these stories and tell truth with every line. When I was young, the paper was my only friend. The paper was my morning's start and my evening's end. I would leave my bed sheets for sheets of loose leaf. I would write religiously, I would often lose sleep. Not an issue, I assure you, sleep was no concern, but a blank page was where I mainly learned. I taught myself philosophies and formed myself philosophies. Self-written stories, I had lots of these. Ink on paper, there were blots of these, wrote of heroes I sought to be, and learning other children didn't write as often was odd to me. But I kept going, the other kids never mattered at all to me. I felt a decade or so ago, and still do, that something's calling me. I just wish that I could answer. I wish I could pick up. I've been trying to structure these sentences skillfully, and I've been rapidly producing art willfully. Finding a balance between quantity and quality, I have to drop a few projects a month and give them all of me. Sometimes I slow down for the sake of staying real. Sometimes I question if I'm expressing how I feel, or an image of how I should, a projection of what I could, if I'm playing the victim by acting misunderstood. Sometimes I write a poem, and then before the next, my views on life change, like my words have been hexed. I have revelations in between the lines I write, and I fear some poems may be wrong and others right. But art is subjective, this much is certain. It's a show we put on before they close our curtain. It's a source of joy many treat as a burden. Time is long, but we act like art is urgent. Tree branches. Human life is composed of immeasurable complexity. Sometimes it astounds me, and often it vexes me. We cannot recall every moment we have lived through. We can only dwell on a single concept, never two. We cannot recall every ingredient in our favorite foods. We cannot remember our heart's vast number of moods. There are far too many sounds, smells, and tastes. Attempting to remember them all is a waste. Like branches and leaves on a tree, these entangle in our minds. When we choose to dive in, we never know what we may find. Beyond. Same window view, same street, blue sky and gray concrete. I find it hard to explain how I love the mundane, but it's adventure I seek, so the typical seems bleak. A cloud can hold my interest for hours. I never grow bored of trees and flowers, yet upon contemplation I can be bored with a whole nation, and I thirst for journeys beyond the realm of creation. The texture on the page of which I write fascinates me like any glorious sight, but when I close the book, around I look, and I am keen for what cannot be seen. The bridge. I miss you much, friend, but it shan't be too long till I reach the Rainbow Bridge. Steal the snow. A rare and joyous sheet of white. In my city is quite the sight. I open the blinds, and to my delight, all is bright, so I sit and write. Great inspiration befalls me like the flurries. As I reach for the pencil, I find I'm in a hurry, as if the snow could suddenly return to the sky. So I scribble with speed, at least I certainly try. But the snowfall persists, the heaviest in years. I remember the needlessness of my fears. Now my pencil moves gentle and slow, like the snowflakes arriving with nowhere to go. Bushy-tailed squirrels and light-feathered birds cause commotion at my window, impacting my words. Tree branches and leaves with a frosty glaze, cloudy gray sky with a foggy haze. Flakes of white tenderly reaching the ground, early morning silence, a lovely lack of sound. Heaps of cotton-like snow resting on rooftops. The layers keep rising, it seems it never stops. I rose early this morning for the sake of the snow. I never wish to see my favorite weather go. I wish I could steal the snow and never say goodbye. I wish flurries would forever fall from the sky. For it's always a pleasure drifting off at night, knowing I will awake to a wintry world of white. Beasts in the dark. As I plunge into the abyss of the sea, I feel enormous beasts swimming beside me. Monstrous arms split the water into waves. I know here I could spend all my days. A comforting sensation, mighty creatures on both sides. The wild beings pull me far against the tides. Even as the sunglow ends and moonshine begins, the beasts continue their swerves, slithers, and spins. I am shielded from those that lurk like sharks. I cannot see, but I am not alone in the dark. A smile creeps up my face. This is fun, to say the least. Then I hold out my hands and latch on to a beast. I mount on its back and I hear its grumble. I barely hold on, but I know I won't tumble. With them, I am secure and sound, in the depths of the sea, with dark all around. Beneath. We know better now than to believe stories of dragons and gold. But truly, are we not lost in this life we built under the moon? Do we seek the unknown, or do we seek the non-existent? Find a fairy tale where we stand, and remember, the dragons are found not in the sky. We find them elsewhere, in a memory, in a road trip, in a breakfast, in a summer. So we ask only this: where do you go to watch the sunset? Cousin. Fireside games and conversations on the water, comparing our heights and measuring our ambitions, sharing stories from each of our loves, how we have grown. From truth or dare to daring truths, our lives keep going. Hidden. I believe the dragons are out there, somewhere, waiting to be found. Or perhaps they do not wish to be, in which case I may search the earth and never find them. But regardless, I feel the dragons, and the warmth of their fiery souls, hidden away. Wish. When I was young, I closed my eyes. I made a wish with all my will, and that wish is still yet to come true. Myself. He looked and asked me, "Friend, what will you invest in?" I replied, "Myself." Reunion. We would sit around the orange flames, enjoying fire-roasted foods, as those talented few sang us songs and played their guitars. We would get in those two-seated boats kept on the dock, and paddle till we were further than the eye could perceive. We would seek shade amidst a 90-degree day with a fierce sun, and once it was found, we would play games in comfort. We would migrate back and forth between our cabins, and spend the night under one roof after telling tales of horror. We would rise early for tortilla-wrapped breakfasts, and venture down dirt roads into town for delectable dinners. We would climb down stone staircases to reach the shore of sand. There, we took photographs that I still look back on fondly. We would fight off pesky insects that were devilishly persistent, but the bites left on my limbs served as reminders of the memories. Chasing dragons. "Don't go chasing dragons," they told me. "Those creatures are untamed and wild." I looked back and said, "It's needless to scold me. I've been chasing them since I was a child." They pounded the bark of the tree on which I stood. They said, "You won't catch any, so come down." I laughed and said, "They have misunderstood. They have no need to fret or to frown." I dangled from branches touching the sky, climbing further away from their hollers. They told me, "You will surely die if you dare climb to any point taller." I inched my way to the edge of a limb, and I was warmed by the sunset. They screamed and shouted, saying I'm dim, but I chuckled and said, "I'm not done yet." "Come on down, son, we urge you to hurry." "Oh no, men, I'm in far too deep." Then I ran to the edge of the branch in a scurry. My eyes closed, and I took a leap. They all looked up in sheer complete awe, and they were certain their eyes had deceived them. For what happened next, what those distant men saw, well, let's just say no one would believe them. Blank page. A blank page is where stories tend to begin. I found myself staring at one yet again, tauntingly clean and untouched by words, containing a story that's yet to be heard. With a touch from the tip of a pen or a pencil, a tale begins from that one small utensil. Curves on the page create words for the eye, to read and observe and get lost in a lie. A story is what we wish reality could be. More often than not, we feel that it should be. For worlds created from ink on a page, or scenes on the TV, or acts on the stage, they tend to create sensations within us. They fight with our minds and attempt to win us. Over with their unreal landscapes of awe, we become captivated until no law can restrain our imaginations from soaring into these worlds that are far less boring than the ones we sit in as we stare at our stages, our TV screens, or our books full of pages. Campfire. Lately I've felt the need to record all art I breed. Every story I write must be in the public sight. Instead of the journey, I tend to look for the end, but I desire stories that never leave a campfire. Enough. Sometimes I do wish that a singular haiku was enough to say, release. Tell me your story. Tell me your peaks and your highs of glory. I will listen, and as your beautiful eyes glisten, I will see your strength. Through troubles and turmoil at length, you have endured what would have left most humans floored. You have survived in places no man ever thrived. You are a god, you are a goddess. I know it sounds odd, but do not be modest, for you have met thieves and crooks. You have read the stars and the books. But at the end of the day, would you tell me I lied if I said you've turned fewer pages than tides? Ocean. I heard once that no piece of art has ever properly captured the beauty of the ocean. I wonder if the ocean was created to be impossible to replicate. I believe certain parts of the world were intended to just exist, not to be captured. They were meant to be felt, not just seen. You can see the waves on the beach through a video, but you can't feel the breeze that seems to come from the water itself. You can't hear the seagulls' calls echoing across the infinite oasis. You can't see the horizon fade away beyond your field of vision. And you can't plant your feet in the sand like a palm tree. No picture or piece of art can give that to you. Globe. We sat in the dark before a glowing globe. I pointed out all the places that I hoped to one day be, cities and countries I had yet to see. So much world to explore, I said to her. We will go everywhere that we desire. Yes, she said to me, then spun the globe and pointed to our home. But we will always come back here. Yes, I replied, we will. Springfield. Down a road of gray skies we travel, beige houses lined up in sequence. The occasional deer paces the street. A welcome second home each time. The pleasant sounds of family behind the sturdy glass door. Seasonal scents come from the kitchen. Watermelon and steaks in the summer, cookies and chocolate in the winter. Ritual greetings of cousins and uncles, firm hugs and friendly hellos, the inevitable game of Black Widow. I ascend to the top floor with a cousin, or descend to the basement with another. Staying up with heavy eyelids, rising with the sun to greet the early few. Donuts await me in the morning. They will be delicious. Remind me to tell you the stories of my greatest adventures, my days of roaming the earth, how I fell in love, how I followed my soul, the friends I made along the journey. Remind me to tell you that you know yourself best. No one is as smart as they claim. Grown-ups are simply kids pretending they know the endless secrets of life. Remind me to tell you rules are made to be broken, the rules of the world, that is. If it's never been done, then you may do it. Your destiny is your decision. Remind me to teach you that life is a gift. Each moment you live should be cherished. Spend time cloud gazing and star searching. Every day is a chance to explore. Remind me to tell you heartbreak hurts. Love can heal, but love can also be hard. Real friends are scarce, find those who care, and solitude is a beautiful thing as well. If you are an artist, a writer, or creator, I will be overwhelmed with pride. We will make movies together, maybe write a book. Our creations will be legendary. And if you stray from your father's footsteps, I will still be overwhelmed with pride. Forge your own destiny, let your heart guide you. You will never have to ask for my support. No matter how you look, no matter what you like, no matter how you think, no matter who you love, no matter what you wear, no matter where you go, no matter what, I will love you. No matter if you are my son or my daughter, remind me to tell you this world is yours. Some will say otherwise, some will judge. Those people are not worth your time. If you are a girl, some will treat you like a girl before they treat you like a genius. And if your skin is dark, some will see your pigment before they see who you are. Remind me to tell you some people won't change, but over time, the world can be changed through people like you. Let's change it together. Shadow. This morning I escaped my shadow. He had been following me for a year, but today I greeted the world smiling, and my shadow knew where he belonged. I told him he was empty and weightless, and evicted him from my mind. My shadow groveled and clawed at me, but I hardly even noticed him. My joy was restored. My heart was full. Blue jays. I saw a gorgeous bird today. I've seen it twice now. 2 days. The first sighting, there were 2 jays. The universe sends me signs through jays. I find myself speaking to jays. They tend to remind me of new days. Each time I wonder if they're new jays, even when it's one of those blue days. I know I can surely count on blue jays. Where is home? Is home a house? A place where books and blankets lay about? The television is white noise, One could pace around with eyes closed and likely never trip. The family communes over food. Memories live in the walls. Is home a neighborhood? Rows of people living separate lives, seeing one another from the same angle, day in, day out. The whir of bicycles and slow-moving cars, chatter from nameless faces, exchanging stories. Is home a city? Places all too familiar, places yet to explore. The culture and food, atmosphere and life. Driving home from the movie theater, little interactions easily forgotten. Is home a memory? Childhood, maybe. The innocence of a son's love. A first kiss beneath shelter from rain. Snowfall in the winter, celebrating with loved ones, mourning alone. Is home a state of mind? Wandering the world and finding peace in the walk. Discovering light in the dark, light in oneself. Is home a person? The one you can return to when all else is wrong. A hug from a friend. The words, "I'm here." Where is home? The lake. Bouncing on the rocky waves, hands locked with a partner, struggling to swim as you held me down with laughter. Jumping from the cliffside into beautiful waters, and riding that rental boat with my friends as brothers. Mountainside. One day, when I'm old, I will wake up, rise from my bed, look back on my life's work, take my pen, my notebook, and my camera, walk along the mountainside, find the highest ledge, look off into the unforgiving sea, at the colossal rocks, inhale the winds, and let go. My instruments of art will fall and crash miles below me, for I shall no longer need them. My days of documenting, recording, capturing will be over. I will be free from art, and live the rest of my days doing just that, and only that, living. Acknowledgements. George Mitchell provided an in-depth critique of my book. He left detailed comments and suggestions on every single poem. That process helped shape Chasing Dragons into what it is now. Noah Boink also gave useful suggestions and thoughts on the book. George and Noah are my dearest friends and two extraordinary creative individuals. Leanne Morrissey, my mother, did the second round of feedback. She has always been my editor and never fails to give amazing artistic advice. Camille Curtis, my girlfriend of 4 years, did about half of the illustrations you see in this book. When my writing meets her art, something magical is created. I am so thankful for the honor of collaborating with someone so talented. Ed Morrissey, my father, did the other half of the artwork in the book. He also designed the cover and gave me a hand with the digital side of things. Without him, this would not be possible. Ellie Morrissey, my cousin, did the outstanding portrait of me, which you will find next to the poem titled I. Her hyper-realistic illustrations always blow me away, and her interest in my projects is so appreciated. Mika Yamamoto helped me settle on the order of these poems, and gave me some fantastic advice on creating an optimal reading experience. She is a delightful person and professor. This book was created by KM Productions. Visit Keelan.com for more poetry, stories, films, comics, and art.